This is Gregory M. Holt, writer, author, producer, researcher of Quest UFO Chasers. How are all my alien chasing friends out there today? Boy, do we have some hot news for you. HAARP and the norovirus. What it's all about. Why are you getting colds? Allergies, and you're tired all the time, and maybe even you think or even know you've been abducted. I'm going to explain all that right after the break. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks for staying. Hey, I wanted to tell everybody, and everybody's been asking me all kinds of questions about this, and about the aliens. Who are they? Is this real? You know, it's all real, okay? It's all real. And what I mean by that is, and I tell everybody, there are intelligent alien species. There's actually 57 intelligent species that we know about that are benevolent. That's the good ones. There's a multitude of ones that we call malevolent. Those are the bad ones. Now, what happened was 20, 30 years ago, I don't know exactly when, we made first contact with EB and other intelligent alien life. But one malevolent faction of intelligent alien life, sometimes known as the Greys and others, they do not like electromagnetic interference. And we became afraid of them. The military was chasing them down in the fastest strike fighter aircraft that we have. They built the TR-3B to chase alien intelligence, and actually the TR-3B was reverse engineered, as you know, and was housed at Groom Lake Area 51. And of course, Bob Lazar was the one who instrumentally came out with the information on that alien spacecraft that was housed at Area 51. And Bob began to tell us about the element that was not on the periodic chart that basically is rotated inside of this cylindrical object, and it almost creates, and in fact it does create a nuclear type reaction inside of that cylinder, and it heats up basically, and that gives them the energy they need to propel this craft. Now that's what we have reverse engineered so that we can chase these intelligent aliens who are in translucent orbs, and they are moving in our atmosphere and have been captured on film all over the world, in Hesdalen, Norway, in the United States over Mount Adams, at Trout Lake, on James Gilliland's property. And what I really want to talk about is I want to explain why we are using HAARP, which nobody has basically come out to tell you, and I'm going to whistleblow right now and let you know. As you all know, I have documents that prove that I worked on Mare Island Naval Shipyard in Vallejo, California. Of course, that base is defunct now. They've completely closed that base. But in the 1980s, I worked on a naval contract The prime contractor was Raytheon, and that was rather relocatable over-the-horizon radar. And I worked with some individuals by the name of Craig Smith, and this is kind of a funny thing, but there's a billion guys named Craig Smith. They even have Craig Smith parties, but the reason they take that name Craig Smith is because it's a black operational code name when scientists of a high caliber, in other words, scientific analysts, that's a specialized pay grade within contracts that you get with the United States when you contract with the United States Navy anyway. The pieces and parts to Rother were on aircraft carriers and ships all over the earth. And I had to write this database so that we could figure out these time calculations of when one ship was passing next to another so we could move that piece of equipment. And basically all of this equipment this time schedules and everything was coordinated, and they offloaded all of this equipment at a base up in Alaska near Fort Wainwright, near where the current HARP facility is. And as you know, that HARP facility was built on technology from a man by the name of Tesla. But the real reason we built HARP was to do electromagnetic sweeps because we had made contact with alien intelligence and found them to be of a malevolent nature. And we couldn't catch them with our fastest aircraft. And we've been chasing them. There's proof of that. In 1953, the Moncla Memories video shows two individuals who slammed into the side of a UFO, killed two aliens, and after those two aliens were killed, the aliens brought the two men on board the spacecraft, and they said, you can either come with us or we can put you back through reincarnation. And the one pilot decided to go with them, and the other pilot decided to go ahead and go back through reincarnation, and he was put in a barrel of liquid, warm liquid, and he said, before you do this, can you leave me with some proof that this is all real and it happened? And they said, we will take the name tags off of your uniform, and we'll put them in a little box, and we'll put it down there and give it to your new birth mother. So this gentleman was reborn into a human body as a little boy, and his mother had this box, and basically I recommend that you go and watch that Moncla Memories video, and it's under Subjects and Reincarnation on my main website. And since I'm talking about the main website, yes, we have changed that, and it is now password protected. And I highly suggest that there's three things you really need to do in order to get that password. You need to join our group on Facebook on the Northwest UFO Chasers group, which we have a wall, and that's where all of my members can pose questions, ask questions, tell of abduction experiences, tell of UFOs, share what's going on, get the information out. But I monitor that very heavily, and it has to be with complete respect that we treat each other. And if I find anybody not, holding that up, they will be eliminated immediately. And so, having said that, I also have a Twitter account, Northwest UFO Chasers. You're going to want to, it's NW UFO Chasers, all one word there on Twitter. You can find all of that once you log into my main website. It's always at the bottom of the videos as they're playing. In other words, there's two links there, one to the Twitter, one to the Facebook group. Now, getting back to what I was talking about earlier. Oh, I want to mention one more thing. My channel on YouTube that plays the videos is A Card World 1, but I would prefer that you utilize the group wall on Facebook so that we can share with everybody. It makes it a lot easier. Of course, I will answer questions of an important nature that has anything to do with that channel. Some people can't play videos on the devices that they have. So if that's the case, then I want you to make sure that you have that channel. That's ACARDWORLD1 on YouTube. And there's a tremendous amount of videos up there. You can go take a look. But the main access on the main website at nwufochasers.com, you'll need a password, but in order to get that password, you have to subscribe and register. But as soon as you do that, I'll send that to you. And if you ever forget, all you have to do is email us at acartworld1@juno.com, and I'll supply you with the password to gain access to the video library instantly. And the reason that that video library is so neat and nice is that when you watch a video about aliens and UFOs and the latest breaking news, you can grab the link at the top, and if you're sharing a message with your other people that are on the internet or through Facebook, you can say, hey man, here's what I'm talking about, and boom, here's the link. So anyway, getting back to what HAARP and the norovirus and the alien intelligence uses, it was released by a newscasting entity, John Kelly. He had a piece of this puzzle, and there is in the news on our main website, breaking news. He goes into this elaborate thing, but about 9 minutes into this, he tells us there are these particles that they use that line the mucal linings of the nose that are aerosolized by the malevolent or bad alien intelligence that gives you what seems like a cold or a virus, makes you tired. And the United States government, black operational MIV, and I'm not saying, what I want to make perfectly clear is I'm not saying that the current administration, President Obama, and people in the cabinet, some of them don't know anything about this, but there are black operational contractors, Halliburton, Raytheon, SAIC, Lockheed Martin, Boeing. Boeing is Aerospace and Electronics Division, which was changed to Defense and Space Group, which I worked for both, have knowledge of reverse engineered alien technology. And in that regard, they know they are developing things specifically to battle these malevolent alien intelligence. And one of the things that was developed that the Navy, or the Department of Naval Intelligence, knew about were these malevolent aliens. So they began to build these HAARP facilities, which again, the predecessor to HAARP is ROTHR, Relocatable Over the Horizon Radar, which back then in the 80s, it was pretty much more of a trajectory. In other words, we shot the electronic beam into the atmosphere and off of the ionosphere and down over onto another location on the planet, and then when that returned, we would bring it back into a Lotus 123, or it was called Symphony at the time, database, and we would analyze that for nuclear trajectory, strike, impact, and try to determine how many people were going to be killed if we sent a nuclear warhead over into Russia type thing, and all of this kind of information and knowledge. But then we moved it over into the HAARP realm later on follow-up contracts and the development of HAARP. And HAARP takes electromagnetic signaling, and what it does is it energizes up, and then puts it into a ability to push it into the ionosphere or atmosphere and bounce it against the ionosphere. But more than that, it generates so much electrical power. And then they realized that it wasn't enough power in order to reach a broader location. And then, if you will, and you can imagine this in your mind, instead of just shooting it straight up, they shoot it out and sweep it. This is what Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan are talking about in that divulgement of their video. And there was one man who was a whistleblower, who was a remote viewer, and he talks about these electric sweeps. Well, this is HAARP. It's sweeping. Now, they built a HAARP facility in Alaska. There's one located in the northeast United States, and I don't know exactly where that one is at, but that one is sweeping. They're all the way around the globe. In other words, they're over there in Northern Europe, and I just don't know the specific locations because it is very top secret stuff, okay? But, so now, getting back to what I was saying about the malevolent, bad alien intelligence and their distribution of aerosolized particulates that embed in human beings' noses, and you get a cold or an allergy or feel tired, and HAARP is supposed to stop that, and it does periodically, but you get it again when they take the sweeps down. Anyway, there's this big controversy. You know, we got people calling their senators and congressmen telling them, shut HAARP down, shut HAARP down. But they don't want to listen or believe anything you say, and you're all totally confused and wonder why. The reason why is because they know the alien intelligence exists. There's your proof right there. I mean, it's plain as day. So that's what I'm saying when I say I'm whistleblowing. And I've got documents and things to back this up. But as you know, I'm a lot smarter than they are. I took those documents and I scanned them, copied them. I put them in safes all the way around the world. I converted that documentation into PDF format, and that went to Julian Assange. And Julian Assange has released some of that through Wiki, okay? But they're trying to determine whether we're just completely crazy or whether we really know what's going on. I mean, this is kind of hard to believe, this stuff. But now, as you can see, these things all tie together. And I want to get back to this point when people ask me this question about, are the aliens real, Greg? You know, and I'm like, the aliens are not only real, but you've got to understand this whole concept of there are human beings on the earth today. And there are ancient, advanced, cultural human beings on the earth today, still alive, and the locations like are High Brazil and the Antarctica. And those are descendants of the Atlanteans and the Lemurians. There's another title, and I can reference that at a later point in time, the actual beings and their names and stuff. I'll go into that in another radio broadcast. What I can point to is Admiral Byrd and his videos and that search for those beings, and that's on the website. Anyway, what I'm really trying to say here is, so there's human beings, advanced, ancient human beings and their technologies, and there are 57 species of benevolent or good alien intelligence. And I want to tell you, the leaders of the benevolent alien intelligence, or the good ones, are the Andromedans, as we know, who are located in the star system of Pegasus in the galaxy of Andromedae. And Alex Collier talks about them all the time. He's in full contact with these aliens, as well as myself, as I was abducted, and I have been in communication and contact with the Nordic alien intelligence. And Billy Meyer, who made contact with the Nordic alien intelligence and has proof positive of pictures and everything for years. These are the same beings. And there's many of you out there that are running around talking about the Pleiadians and the Andromedans and this and that and all the good and everything. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but we're talking about reality here, not love and light and namaste, okay? I'm talking about actual technological proof, scientific proof, evidence. Now, again, there's human beings, and we have high technologies, as in the TR-3B that chases aliens. It has a nuclear fission reaction inside of its center that goes crazy and makes that TR-3B move like lightning. It disappears. They have invisibility cloaking technology. They just take small pixelization and all over that aircraft, and they're able to, just like you change your screensaver on your computer, picture a bunch of tiny little monitors all over the outside of that aircraft. They can make it look like the sky. They take a picture of the sky on their left side and project it onto their right side, or project it all over the aircraft, and you can't see it. It's invisible. You look right at it. But with our night vision binoculars and our night vision technology and the infrared, we're able to capture those crafts, and we noticed, there is a war going on. I mean, they're shooting plasma weapons at each other and all kinds of crazy stuff's going on that you just don't want to believe, but it's out there. The proof is out there. You got to look for it. Anyway, let me get back to this before. So there's the humans, there's the advanced ancient humans, and now there's the 57 benevolent or good alien intelligent species, and then there's a bunch of malevolent ones that are working in a nefarious nature, but the reason that they're working in a nefarious nature, when I say nefarious, I mean in a bad, evil way, is because they don't look at the sanctity of life the way we do, with our light-bodied essences or our souls inside of our bodies. We're afraid of death, and we die, and we don't know the processes, but they do. They know all about reincarnation and how to come back. And they can move a light-bodied essence from one human being's body to another human being's body, and as well, they have also figured out how to make biological or artificially intelligent entities, and they can put a light-bodied essence in those, and some of those are actually the Greys that you see who work for the Andromedans. And so what I'm saying is that these biologically intelligent robots that have light-bodied essences within them are actually from the benevolent or the good Andromedan, Nordic alien intelligence. So I know it sounds really confusing. Now, another thing. There are also angels, and then there's God. And what you have to understand is, and I talked about this before in another radio broadcast, is the distributed cloud of collective consciousness. In other words, if you were sitting on the moon looking down at the earth and you were able to see and identify everybody by their soul or light body essence as a bright light, you would see this big giant cloud. That's what I call the distributed cloud of collective consciousness. We're all pieces of this huge puzzle. And when I say we're pieces of this huge puzzle, I actually mean that, because embedded within your DNA, in your body, is a part of the answer to this entire question. Now, the question of existence. Now, superstring theory in mathematics substantiated multidimensionality, and it's by no coincidence that the sacred number is 12. I wrote an article and I said God is beyond the 11th dimension. That's the 12th dimension. We live in the third dimension of illusory reality. Time itself is the fourth dimensional wormhole or portal, as in time, T equals V small x d. In other words, time equals velocity times dimension. Okay? Or excuse me, displacement. I apologize for that. D stands for displacement. And what that does is that allows you to move from the third dimension of illusory reality into the fifth dimension of ethereal reality. And in ethereal reality, your Your light body essence floats around and exists, but anything that you can think of consciously will manifest. So if you don't know what the heck you're doing there and you're just astral traveling, out-of-body experience, in other words, astrally projecting, again, this is high-frequency resonation of the pineal gland, which is the endocrine glandular system of the human body, and you need to understand the endocrine glandular system of the human body and how to move through the chakra points and ultimately culminating so that you can astral travel correctly. You need to know how to call on your protection systems, because the malevolents are in the fifth dimension of ethereal reality just waiting for you to pop in there, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're going to get a bunch of stuff that looks like hell and the devil thrown at you if you don't know how to call on your protection systems. And when I say protection systems, I'm specifically talking about, obviously, for Christians, it's Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. For Ramakrishnas, it's Krishna. For Buddhas, and I apologize, I'm not going to be able to Sangwa. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. You can Google Buddha and find out who that specific name of their follower is. As a matter of fact, I can do that right this second. Let me just do this real quick and see. Because it is important. And the name that I was looking for is Siddhartha Gautama. He's a real individual. He lived in 563 BCE. So did Krishna. He was a real individual. He grew up in Dwarka, and Graham Hancock has told us about that city, the Vedic texts, and the Mahabharata, and the Pandavas, and all of these texts that the Indian Vedics texts, that the Hindu Indians who believe in Ramakrishna, their texts talk about Krishna and the city that he grew up in. Buddha grew up in China. Anyway, what I'm saying is Buddhists, Krishnas, and now we're talking about Muhammad and the Quran and the Middle East. Muhammad taught peace. Now Christianity, Jesus Christ. Okay, all four of those individuals make up what is supposed to be, and what they're supposed to be teaching us is peaceful, conscientious objection to war, to any kind of war. War from the Crusades in the Middle East to today's wars that were being carried on in Libya and Afghanistan and Iraq. They don't, angels, seraphim and cherubim from God do not like war. And you're never going to transcend if we continue to, go after war. We have to grow up here as a people, as a civilization, as a species. We've got to end this war stuff. But again, so when I say war, a lot of you jump to, the wars that we're involved in over there. But again, these other wars that I'm talking about are happening between the malevolent alien intelligence, the black operational communities, and that's where I'm tying in the aerosolization of particulate matter that the malevolents are dispersing. The electric sweeps from HAARP are supposed to stop that. So the United States government and their interests, and their black operational contracts actually have our best interest at heart. Not HAARP, heart is what I said, our best interest at heart. But it's all really confusing. Now, not just to confuse you even more, but these are the pieces of the puzzle that I've been able to put together. And again, of course, you know that I have the timeline on Northwest UFO Chasers. And that timeline is incredible because it basically starts to begin to paint this picture with information and videos. And this big picture, and this is what I am relaying onto you and giving you some description. Now, again, if you read the Nag Hammadi, which will take you an extremely long time, so, don't try to read the whole thing in one sitting. It's bigger than the Bible, and they found these are the transcripts that were really by the Gnostics who followed Christ. They found that in Egypt. The books of Enoch and the Bible, and you You read those three pieces of work, and you will get a bigger picture. And the bigger picture that transpires has to do with the ancient astronaut theory, and the connection to alien intelligence. And what that's all about is that there are angels of God that move interdimensionally down from the 12th dimension or the 11th dimension, 10, 9, 8, and come down through the 5th, through the wormhole of the 4th, into the 3rd. One of them's name is Metatron. And you can Google Metatron and find out. Like I said, I'm not making any of this up. You can research the knowledge for yourself right on Google. Type in Metatron. See if I'm telling you the truth. Metatron understands sacred geometry. And within that, a man by the name of Drunvalo Melchizedek on the planet today, who has the same last name as the chapter in the Nag Hammadi that I highly recommend you read as the first chapter, will tell you about the angels that have come to the earth. But they talk about the fallen angels, and those fallen angels came to the earth, found women highly desirable, had relations with women. That is known as the Nephilim, and those are the fallen angels. But it's not all about the devil, as you have been taught in modern-day religion. This is completely different. This has to do with genetic engineering, the modification of genes, the marker setups, the diploid counts within your chromosomes. There's a 23rd chromosome with marker indicators in it of 4N, 2N, 2A that will really determine whether you are a human-alien hybrid that has been genetically engineered on this planet, and that substantiates the zoo and it's called the zoo theory or the farm theory, as in they're farming us here, genetically manipulating or modifying us so that they can take those beings and populate other planets in the solar system. And so you can see that this whole thing totally makes sense if you put the big picture into context. Now, I haven't really decided if I'm going to disclose some of the information that I actually signed under non-disclosure. Believe it or not, the information I'm giving you has nothing to do with the secret information that I have surrounding non-disclosure. And if I ever do that, it's going to have to be Carrie Cassidy and Bill Ryan, and they're going to have to contact me, and we're going to have to sit down and talk. And we have to formulate this into a deliverable message and a context. And I've been trying to write the book, but I've been so busy with my production studio and my, the timeline and my website. I'm only one human being, one individual, and trying to put it all together. And quite frankly, some people just don't want to accept the truth, Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I really appreciate your time and for listening, and I really want you to have a good day, good afternoon, or good evening. This is writer, author, researcher, producer, Gregory M. Voles saying thank you and good night. Good